so good. Yeah.
So honest.
Man, yeah, we needed that episode.
Thank you.
Do you wish that you guys just wish that Andy would be a little bit more honest in his experience?
Yeah, I wish you'd just open up a little. Just open up a little. That was so good.
How many siblings in your family again, Sarah and Andy? How many kiddos are there?
Sarah's got 4 brothers.
Yeah.
And 1 sister. Okay, 6
No
of you.
sisters.
4 or 5 of you, excuse me.
Yeah.
She's right the smack in the middle.
2 older, 2 younger brothers. Yep. So.
And do you mind if I ask, have others experienced mental illness? You know, your mother who struggled, bless her.
Yeah, we talked a little bit last week about that. I was diagnosed actually with bipolar when I was 40, which was, that's uncommon because typically it presents like late teens, early 20s, right, Andy?
Right.
So it blindsided me. I don't know about others in the family. I've never actually asked them about how they felt about that, but for me, it was postpartum driven. So when I had a baby at age 40, and then this is actually something for those listening. I had no idea that 4 months after having a baby, you can have postpartum things going on, but that actually is common that at 4 months, something can manifest. Yeah. So,
wow, I didn't know that.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Other siblings have not had those experiences, to your knowledge.
We all have some.
We've all had something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Youngest brother has severe illness anxiety. Second youngest brother has strong depression. And then older brother, does Chris? I don't know if our oldest brother. He's like our dad. He's just the rock. But his wife, our oldest brother's wife, had postpartum depression, very severe.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're surrounded with it in our families.
And relate and connect. You do. I can only imagine.
And that's another thing to be knowledgeable about is it is hereditary. So
right.
Yeah. So it is important to be aware kind of what Andy was talking about, of what the different symptoms are. So I think for when I experienced a manic episode, it is interesting to me that we didn't catch it sooner because we have been surrounded by it. But I think my husband, I mean, those that marry into a family, he didn't know as much, because it was new for him. This whole thing is very new. He just hadn't dealt with that in his life. So it took him by surprise, and I was too far gone to notice it myself. So, yeah.
Wow.
What I was interested to hear was how too much dopamine in the brain is part of the problem.
In psychosis, yeah. Yeah, that's why it's euphoric. The psychosis is the highest of highs. I actually had I worked with young men in my church, and one of the young men liked to do drugs. He was telling me one time that he was on a trip from mushrooms, and as he described what was happening to him while he was on this trip, it was exactly what happened to me on my mission during psychosis. And it was weird because the way that the drugs changed the chemistry in his brain was exactly the same thing that was happening with psychosis. And that includes brain damage.
Oh, it's fascinating.
Does this condition also make people more susceptible to addictions?
Well, addictions are the escape. So if somebody is super depressed, drugs are the escape when they don't feel depression while they're high. If it's any addiction, really, even if it's not illegal addictions, if it's like gaming or if it's being on your phone, it's the escape. For me, the addiction is sleep. The only time I don't feel anxious or depressed is when I'm asleep. So oversleeping is my addiction that I'm constantly fighting. It's the escape from the pain of the mental illness.
Sure. Makes sense.
And you mentioned diet too. Does the gut biome affect
Yes.
some of this too?
Yes, very much. Neurotransmitters are in your gut and your brain.
Okay.
Yeah, we're learning more and more about gut health, the importance of gut health.
Yeah, I've heard some interesting diets have had effects on some of this kind of stuff, but I know it's still that science and theory is still kind of in its infancy, right?
Right. And here's an interesting thing. In 2002, I went off my meds and I tried a new medication. It was called Geodon. It was brand new at the time. And when I got on Geodon, I went off my all my other meds, and come to find out, Geodon didn't work for me. It didn't touch it. And I didn't realize it until all of my previous meds were completely out of my system. So I relapsed big time. And the depression was so strong. And the thing that triggered it was when I ate. It was really weird. It was food. So I would wake up at like 6 a.m, which is really weird for me. I never wake up at 6 a.m. with energy and excitement like Liz looks like she has. I never wake up with enthusiasm, but I did during that time. And so I would be like, go, get as much done as I could. But the minute I ate lunch, that bipolar cycle went from hypomania just instantly to depression that was so debilitating, I couldn't even move my body without breaking down and crying. I just laid there on the floor, and my dad would massage my back, and I would do that until I finally fell asleep. And then I'd wake up and the whole thing would go again. And every time, the thing that triggered the depression was eating. Isn't that crazy? So you
weren't eating breakfast at this time?
Yeah, well, I ate breakfast, yeah, but it didn't do it. It was the second time when I ate lunch. So I started like fasting. I wouldn't eat for as long as I could because I knew the minute I ate, it would trigger the depression.
Was there any particular food that you might think have set it off, or just anything?
I think it was anything because I ate a whole bunch of different things.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So for me, there's
the chemical of food, Andy, pardon me. The chemistry I don't know. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
What was it about?
It was something in, I don't know if it was sugar, if it was blood sugar. I don't know what it was, but it was definitely the food it was eating. And here's the other part of that story. It got so bad that my dad called my psychiatrist and he said, we have to have an antidepressant for Andy. Up until that point, I hadn't been taking antidepressants because the doctor was afraid they would push me into psychosis. That's the fear a lot of times with bipolar disorder is antidepressants will trigger mania and psychosis. So they don't always prescribe it. And my dad said, we have to have an antidepressant. And that's when the doctor prescribed Lexapro. And I was down on the floor. They got the Lexapro, and within less than an hour, the depression lifted. So from that point, I never stopped taking Lexapro. But
I bet.
To me, that says this is definitely chemical. This is not bad choices. This is not a bad attitude. This is not weak willpower. This is so chemical. To me, it was just obvious.
Wow. This has been so revealing and incredible to hear this whole thing. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for sharing your journey and tips and help and being so open and vulnerable. It's going to help a lot of people.
I hope so. Thank you for the platform. Thank you for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to meet all of you.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a second to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel at Utah Marriage Commission, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. Be sure to smash the like button, leave a comment, and share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and interact with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Life and Facebook at Stronger Marriage. So be sure to share with us which topics you loved or which guests we should have on the show next. If you want even more resources to improve your marriage or relationship connection, visit strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, e-courses, in-depth webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producer, Rex Polanis, and the team at Utah State University, and you, our audience. You make this show possible. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Utah Marriage Commission.